Sometimes in life, the very places we once found comfort and belonging become the sources of our deepest wounds. The people we trusted, the environments we depended on, and the habits we clung to, what was once a refuge, becomes a battleground. It's a difficult truth to accept, but one that we must confront if we're ever going to move forward. You can't heal in the same place that broke you. There's a reason why growth often requires distance. Emotional healing, spiritual restoration, and mental renewal don't thrive in the same soil that once poisoned our peace. When your heart has been shattered in a space, be it a relationship, a job, a circle of friends, or even a mindset, returning to that space expecting transformation is like planting seeds in dry, cracked earth. No matter how hard you try, something inside you resists flourishing there. That resistance isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Too often, people stay stuck in toxic places hoping for different outcomes. They repeat patterns, cling to memories, and hold on to the illusion that maybe, just maybe, if they try harder or become someone else, the situation will change. But healing doesn't require you to lose yourself in the hope of reconciliation. It requires you to recognize your worth and walk away from what no longer serves you, even if it once meant everything to you. Walking away is not giving up. It's choosing to live. There is power in letting go. There is strength in saying, this is no longer good for me, and taking a step in a new direction. It's a sacred kind of courage, the kind that requires you to mourn what was while still moving forward into what could be. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to stop bleeding in a place that's never going to offer you healing. And yet we often delay our freedom because we've been conditioned to believe that loyalty means staying, that love means enduring, and that hope means waiting indefinitely. But love without respect is abuse, loyalty to dysfunction is bondage, and hope without boundaries becomes self-sabotage. Healing begins the moment you recognize that you were not created to be stuck, to be wounded indefinitely, or to be imprisoned by the past. You were made for movement, growth, and restoration. When you find yourself trapped in cycles of pain, anxiety, or regret, it's easy to blame yourself. But healing isn't about shame. It's about self-awareness. It's about finally looking around and saying, I can't do this anymore, not like this. That's when the shift happens. That's when your soul starts to breathe again. It's not a loud moment. Sometimes it's just a quiet whisper. I deserve more than this. And that whisper becomes the spark that lights the fire of your transformation. Distance doesn't always mean physical miles. Sometimes it's emotional detachment, mental clarity, or spiritual separation. It's the decision to detach your identity from the things that once defined you, but now confine you. That person you were in that painful season, you're allowed to leave them behind too. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to be unrecognizable to people who only knew the version of you that tolerated pain in silence. Healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel strong and free. Other days you'll miss what hurt you. That's okay. Missing something doesn't mean you belong there. It means you're human. But even on the days when your heart aches for the familiar, don't turn back. Remember why you left. Remember the tears, the confusion, the anxiety, the emptiness. Don't let nostalgia trick you into thinking you're walking into something new, when it's really just the old cycle with a fresh coat of paint. You don't have to have everything figured out to move forward. You just have to be willing to take one step. Healing begins when you choose peace over familiarity, when you decide that the unknown is safer than staying in pain, when you believe that what's ahead of you holds more promise than what's behind you. That's not being reckless. That's having faith in the unseen. That's trusting that your future deserves the best version of you, and that version can't emerge in a space that continually wounds you. Sometimes we're waiting for the place that broke us to apologize. We think healing can't begin until we get closure, until they say sorry, until we get the validation we've been craving. But closure doesn't always come from others. It comes from your decision to stop needing it. It comes from realizing that you can choose peace, even if you never got the answers you wanted. You don't need their apology to move on. You need your permission. Some doors close so loudly it shakes your whole world. Others close silently, slowly over time. And sometimes the door never closes on its own. You have to close it yourself. That takes courage. It takes trust. It takes the belief that walking away doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're being led. The season may have served a purpose, but its expiration date has arrived. Now it's time to honor yourself enough to stop reopening what you were meant to walk away from. Growth will cost you something. It may cost you the comfort of the known, the approval of others, the stories you've told yourself for years, but the return is priceless. You gain clarity. You gain strength. You gain access to the fullness of who you really are. And in that gain, you begin to see that healing isn't just about feeling better. It's about becoming better, becoming whole, becoming new. You owe it to yourself to create space where healing is possible, to surround yourself with people, environments, and thoughts that nourish your spirit, that speak life into you, that remind you that your past is a place of reference, not residence. You don't live there anymore. You've outgrown it. And now you're stepping into a space where you don't have to pretend, perform, or prove your worth, because in the right space, healing is natural. It flows, it restores. If you're still waiting for the right moment to leave the pain behind, let this be it. Not because it's easy, not because everything will be perfect, but because you're ready. You're ready to stop bleeding in the same place. You're ready to step out, not knowing everything, but knowing one thing for sure. You can't heal in the same place that broke you, and you don't have to. You've been through things that most people wouldn't even understand. You've carried the weight of heartbreak, disappointment, rejection, and mistakes that seem like permanent stains. There are nights you've cried yourself to sleep, questioning your worth, your choices, and whether things will ever truly get better. But here's the truth. Your past is a part of your story, but it is not the whole story. It is a chapter, not the entire book. And it was never meant to become your permanent address. So many people are trapped, not by what's happening now, but by what has happened. They've built emotional homes in places of trauma, set up camp in the valleys of shame, and planted roots in seasons that were only meant to pass. But life was never designed to be lived backward. It was meant to move forward, to evolve, to grow. That means you have to stop treating your past like it's your destiny. Your past is a place of reference, something you look back on to learn, to gain wisdom, to gather strength, but not to live in. You don't need to keep rehearsing what went wrong. You don't need to replay every failure like it's a script written in stone. Every time you replay the hurt, you reopen wounds that were meant to heal. Every time you define yourself by your worst moments, you deny yourself the chance to become who you truly are. You are more than what happened to you. You are more than what you did. You are more than what they said. You are more than what you lost. There's power in acknowledgement, yes, but there's even more power in release. Acknowledge the pain, but don't idolize it. Acknowledge the mistake, but don't become imprisoned by it. The past will keep speaking, but you have the authority to decide whether or not you'll keep listening. Too many people are still letting the voice of yesterday drown out the call of their future. You can't answer tomorrow's call while holding the phone line open to yesterday's heartbreak. Growth requires movement, and movement requires release. You can't reach for what's ahead while gripping what's behind. Imagine trying to walk forward while looking backward. It's only a matter of time before you trip, and that's what so many people are doing, emotionally and spiritually, trying to move forward while staring in the rearview mirror. But you're not called to be a prisoner of your past. You're called to be a steward of your potential. Some of the things that happened to you weren't your fault. They broke you. They confused you. They damaged your sense of identity. But you are still here. That means there is still purpose. That means there is still time. That means there is still a reason. And maybe the reason you had to go through what you did wasn't so you could suffer endlessly, but so you could rise with empathy, with perspective, with fire. Because there are people out there who will need the version of you that came out of that storm. Not the bitter version, not the angry version, but the healed, empowered version who knows how to survive and still smile. The version who carries scars not as a symbol of defeat, but as proof of resilience. Your past doesn't have to be your prison. It can be your platform. But it only becomes that when you stop identifying with it and start using it. You can't change what happened, but you can change what you do with it. And what you do with it determines who you become from it. Will you let it define you, or will you let it refine you? Too often we assign permanent labels to temporary events. We say, I am broken, instead of, I felt broken. We say, I am a failure, instead of, I experienced failure. But you are not your mistakes. You are not your trauma. You are not your past. Those are things that happened. They are not your identity. Your identity is rooted in your ability to overcome, to choose a better path, to rise even when everything in you wants to stay down. You don't erase the past by pretending it never happened. You redeem the past by refusing to let it hold you hostage, by using it to serve your growth, by mining it for gold instead of letting it rot into bitterness. You get to choose how your story moves forward. You get to rewrite the narrative, not by denying what happened, but by deciding what comes next. The enemy of your future is not always failure, it's fixation. being stuck in what was instead of walking into what can be, being stuck in who you were instead of becoming who you're meant to be. The hardest chains to break are the ones we forge ourselves, chains of regret, chains of unforgiveness, chains of self-pity, chains of comparison. But you hold the key, and the key is perspective. The key is ownership. The key is knowing that your past may explain you, but it doesn't excuse you. It doesn't excuse you from living fully. It doesn't excuse you from dreaming big. It doesn't excuse you from showing up in the present with your whole heart. No more hiding behind what happened. No more using it as a shield or a crutch. You're not the only one who's suffered. You're not the only one who's lost. But you have the choice to become one of the few who heals. And healing begins when you stop visiting your past, like it's your sanctuary. It begins when you say, I'm done rehearsing the pain. I'm done carrying this baggage into every new opportunity. I'm done letting yesterday steal today's joy. You are not who you were in your worst moment. You are who you are becoming in your healing. You are who you are in your rising. You are who you are when you choose love over resentment, peace over chaos, and growth over grief. And the only way you step into that version of yourself is by turning your gaze away from the shadows of your history and focusing on the light of your future. The past is over. It cannot be undone, but it also cannot overtake you unless you let it. And you don't have to let it. You can choose to learn from it without living in it. You can choose to rise from it without carrying it. Because freedom isn't found in erasing the past. It's found in refusing to be defined by it. You can't step into your purpose dragging the dead weight of yesterday. The past may have shaped who you are, but it has no right to dictate who you become. Every time we replay what hurt us, every time we relive the betrayal, the loss, the failure, we pour energy into something that cannot be changed. That energy, that power is being misdirected. It's energy that could be building your future, strengthening your present, fueling your vision. But instead, it's being siphoned off to a story that's already been written, already been lived, already done. We all have chapters we don't read out loud, memories that sting, choices we regret, people we trusted who broke that trust. Moments we wish we could erase, but what we often fail to see is that healing doesn't come from holding on. It comes from letting go. You can't soar when you're chained to what was. You can't grow when you're stuck watering dead roots. The past, no matter how painful or precious, belongs behind you. It's not your residence, it's your reference. Glance at it if you must, but don't live in it. Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's not forgetting, it's choosing. To no longer give the past power over your peace, it's the conscious decision to say, that chapter is over and I'm writing something new now. It's not about pretending it didn't hurt or pretending it didn't happen. It's about refusing to let that hurt have the final word in your story. Sometimes we hold on because we've tied our identity to the pain. We say, this happened to me, and we build our sense of self around that moment. But you are more than what broke you. You are more than what didn't work out. You are more than the version of you that made those mistakes. Growth demands that we unlearn the false narratives we've told ourselves. You don't owe the past your loyalty. You owe yourself the freedom to move forward. So many of us are trying to run a race with a backpack full of bricks. Emotional. Baggage, unhealed wounds, conversations we never had, closure we never received. But you don't need closure to close a chapter. You just need the courage to walk away from it. You keep waiting for the apology that may never come, for the explanation that might never arrive. But your healing isn't on them. It's on you. You can't control what they did, but you can absolutely control what you do next. Freedom doesn't feel like a sudden release. It's often a decision made in quiet moments. The decision to stop responding to the same internal dialogue. The decision to stop showing up for relationships that drain you. The decision to stop justifying your pain and start investing in your peace. Every step you take away from the past is a step toward your potential. The thing is, comfort and growth don't live in the same space, and sometimes the past feels comfortable because it's familiar, even if it's painful. But familiarity isn't the same as purpose. Just because you've lived with the weight for so long doesn't mean it belongs with you. You don't have to carry what they gave you. You don't have to live under labels others put on you in moments of their own brokenness. You have the right to redefine yourself, to reintroduce yourself, to rise. When you let go of the past, you make space. Space for joy, space for love, space for clarity, purpose, and peace. You can't fill your hands with new blessings if they're still clinging to old burdens. What's in front of you is calling, but it can't reach you if you're anchored in what's behind. You weren't meant to repeat the pain. You were meant to learn from it, transcend it, and use it as a foundation to build something better. It's not about pretending the pain didn't happen. It's about refusing to stay trapped in it. When you make the choice to let go, you're not denying reality. You're declaring your right to peace. You're acknowledging that life is too short and too valuable to be lived in replay mode. You weren't born to be a prisoner of your past. You were born to create something meaningful out of every broken piece. Too often, people wait for a perfect moment to release the past. They think they'll do it when they're stronger, when they've figured everything out. But strength doesn't come before release. It comes because of it. You get stronger when you put down what's been breaking you. You get clearer when you stop carrying confusion. You get freer when you decide to stop living in memories and start living with intention. The past only has the power you give it, and every day you wake up is a new opportunity to reclaim your power. To say, I choose to move on. I choose to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I choose to believe that my best days are not behind me. They are ahead. I choose to believe that no matter what I've been through, there is still purpose in me, still promise in me, still fire left to burn. You may not feel ready. You may still feel the weight of everything that happened, but readiness is not a prerequisite for release. Sometimes you have to let go first, and the strength shows up after. Don't wait to feel ready. Decide. Decide that you are worth more than what hurt you. Decide that your story is worth writing in bold, not in fear. Decide that your past is not your prison, it's your platform. There is power in your decision. Power in saying, I won't be defined by what happened. I'll be refined by it. Power in drawing a line in the sand and stepping into a new mindset. And once you make that choice, once you start living like your future matters more than your history, something shifts. Doors open, opportunities appear, the right people show up, because life begins to reflect your belief in yourself. This is not just about moving on, it's about rising up. It's about remembering that you are not a victim of your past. You are a steward of your future. And the moment you release what no longer serves you is the moment you give yourself permission to become everything you were always meant to be.